weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good Friday morning. Amy Jacobson here. Jim Urio in for Dan Proft. Very excited to have you all week.
Last day of the whole week. It's been so much fun.
I know. It's flown by.
Yeah. Really.
And they're at it again, our local congressmen who think there are betters, the Democrats. They're trying to invade ICE offices in Chicago to save people's souls.
We have been here for over an hour seeking to meet with the field director. They won't open the door. Someone who came out here, masked, unnamed, refused to identify himself, told us that we need to send an email requesting access to this building.
U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, people here under color of law, people seeking asylum, people with work permits are being kidnapped and arrested.
And I keep hearing that too. People are disappearing in the middle of the night. My pastor every Sunday says, we need to pray for people that are disappearing in the middle of the night. That's their talking point, and they repeat it over and over again. But the problem with Congressman Chuy Garcia and others?
One of the many problems.
Well, you have to ask to go into an ICE office 24 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like Speaker Mike Johnson did when he came to Chicago last week to visit an ICE center, and he did it the proper way. Not to make a media statement or to get on TV. He did it the proper way and asked for 24 hours in advance.
I tell you what, they've got a very difficult job here in this deep blue territory with a mayor who is on the wrong side of the law. And they're doing everything they can. It's a patriotic duty. They're understaffed. They're overwhelmed with the workload. They're trying to go after the dangerous criminal illegal aliens that are in the country harming American citizens.
And what I learned through our good friend who's going to join us right now, Alderman Lopez, 15th Ward Alderman, is that we have some 2,000 illegal, violent criminals that just live in Chicago. Those could be preventable crimes. So with that, let's welcome back to the program Alderman Lopez. Good morning, Alderman. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Happy hot Friday to you and your listeners today.
I thought it was supposed to be a little cooler today than yesterday, no?
100 degrees, whether, like you say in Arizona, dry or not, it's still 100 degrees.
It's hot.
It's not going to be a
better today.
I know. Well, hopefully things won't get hot tonight, but we'll talk about that in a second. Your reaction to Garcia and all these others who, keep trying to infiltrate ICE offices in Chicago?
Well, I just hope that the Academy Awards has a new Oscar available in 2025 for best performances of the year, because that is all this has been, nonstop performances, holding up their Costco cards in front of the ICE detention agencies so that they can get access to a building which, as federal officers, as you said, all they have to do is ask and do it the proper way.
Yeah.
I've never seen Chuy talk this passionately about finding pathways for the undocumented in his district at any point in his nearly 3 decades in elective office. But now all of a sudden he wants to check to see how the migrant asylum seekers are doing, who have protective status in this country because they manipulated asylum under the Biden-Harris administration. We never hear them talk about the people that elect them, the people that they represent, and the people that they've taken an oath to defend when they take their oath of office. But this is just a running joke at this point, because all of these members of Congress probably need a civics lesson in knowing that they are the ones who introduced the bills that change the laws that they don't like. And not one of them has introduced anything worth a rat's behind to try to change the situation, because ultimately they're not interested in changing the situation. They just keep wanting to keep the performance going until the next election to make it look like they've been doing something the entire time.
Well, even the infiltration at the office, like, they don't make an appointment on purpose because they want to be turned away at the door, because that's more of dramatic for them, right? It's a political thing, correct?
Absolutely. And just have your listeners think about this. If you went up to Chuy Garcia at a town hall, do you think anyone and just bum rush him for asking questions the way Senator Alex Padilla did to Secretary Noem. Do you think his staff or security would let you just waltz right up to him as a constituent? No. And same on every congressman and every elected official who I know who goes to great lengths to keep people at triple arm's length. You're never going to get that close to people. But yet it's for the performance. It's for the cameras. It's to show the evil fascist regime that expects Democrats to follow the rules. And it's really tiresome, and it's exhausting.
Speaking of Padilla and Academy Awards, I got to play this because you mentioned it. I mean, I've been a reporter 33 decades or so. What he did that day was disgusting. I mean, even if he was just a regular person, but a senator going up to Kristi Noem while she's speaking, and he did bum rush her, but then he cried about it afterwards.
I was forced to the ground.
This is so good.
First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why. I pray you never have a moment like this. But I will tell you, in that moment, a lot of questions came to my mind. First of all, where are they taking me? Because I know I'm not
so
just being
pathetic. But that's what I feel like the Democratic is doing. Pardon?
I said I think Jesse Smollett has become his new campaign manager. I was just going out for a Subway sandwich, and they put a noose on me.
These MAGA guys in Chicago. Right?
This is ridiculous.
Oh my
and
God.
You're right. I've been to press conferences with mayors and important people. No one gets to drum rush people like that. And if you had a question, then you should know how to reach out to your own secretary. But ridiculous.
All right. So you had mentioned that there's 2,000 known violent illegals that are here in the city. Shouldn't they be on the top of the deportation list, or?
Well, the 2,000 that I was referencing, this might have been when I was on my Fox interview because I brought it up again recently, those are 2,000 individuals who were allowed asylum into our country. So technically they're not illegal. They've been given temporary protective status even despite their dangerous criminal history by the Biden-Harris team over the last 4 years and the previous administration. And those were the individuals that Tom Homan specifically said that he was interested in going after once they took office. And that is why he came to Chicago. That is why he was trying to get cooperation, because he knew that if Chicago PD or any other law enforcement agency arrested any of these individuals, that they would have liked a safe transfer of custody from local police department to the federal government, because they knew we had child sexual predators. They knew we had human traffickers. They knew we had very dangerous individuals who were dangerous not just to community but to country. And they are here in the city of Chicago, vetted by the Biden administration.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the people that they wanted to start with. And this is what Brendan Johnson, all the Latinos, and everybody else who wants to feel like they're fighting Donald Trump said, oh, no, they're owed due process. They are owed X, Y, and Z. And, you know, if you lied or even told the truth about how dangerous you are and we still let you in, shame on us. But there's a new sheriff in the White House who wants to get rid of all the dangerous people. Then why wouldn't we help them? Why are we intentionally forcing communities, particularly minority communities, to live with dangerous criminals in their midst that we know we could easily remove?
The whole thing is absolutely crazy. And Alderman Lopez, I get in arguments with people all the time because the open southern borders and encouraging illegal immigration was an explicit, it was not implicit, it was an explicit priority of the Biden administration. He said it. I'm going to tell them to storm the border. He said it. What was the motivation for doing something that became so unbelievably unpopular and ended up being one of the things that lost the Democrats the presidency? How did they make this mistake? What were they hoping to gain from this?
Well, I think it was a twofold, Jim, to be perfectly honest with you. I think first off, we know that when Joe Biden became president of the United States, you know, there was such anger and animosity towards many of the Trump policies that all of the executive orders that kept potential would-be asylum seekers at bay were immediately rescinded. I think there were 98 different orders that were rescinded on day one. That lifted the gates. Then all the policies afterwards, all the welcoming direct and indirect messaging that went out there to get many of these individuals, particularly individuals coming from failed socialist states, to our country, in my opinion, I think was a direct effort by many Democratic leaders to help boost up the welfare-dependent class in the United States. We see many Latino communities, particularly Mexican immigrant communities, do not want to be a part of a welfare state. They have more conservative Christian family values, especially being Catholic. You see many in the African American community are trying to become entrepreneurs, not trying to become reliant on the government in the way in the past. So that social welfare class of dependency is shrinking. And what did you do in the last 4 years? You invited 15 million people who are now welfare dependent on government to take care of them. And we saw that in the early stages with, thousands of dollars being given towards rent, towards food, towards things that we don't offer our own citizens. But you've created a whole new dependency that they hope to feed and have that Messiah complex over.
Crazy.
All right, so it's going to be warm this weekend. I might be a betting person. Well, if I was a betting person, I would bet that there's going to be some type of teen takeover either in the suburbs, because it's been a big deal right now in Naperville, believe it or not, but in the city of Chicago. And your rolling curfew or SNAP, yeah, you guys vote 27-22 to pass it, and Brandon Johnson vetoed it. And here's his reason why. Offering
up police power, extended police power without any check or balance has not boded well for black people and brown people. It is the necessary step, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where 20, 30, 40 years from now, we look back and we end up engineering the same type of carceral state that we're trying to disrupt.
What was that?
I don't know. Those are words I don't understand.
That's a whole lot of word salad. That's a whole lot of word salad right there. But let's be clear about a couple things. One, there is a check to this power because the mayor's office has to agree with the superintendent in order to execute it. So unless he's saying he's going to be a part of the carceral effort to incarcerate black youth, I don't know what he's talking about. There's also another part of that same conversation where he says this could have been his son. This could have been his son at one of these takeovers, and why should his son be arrested? You know what? If you're the parent of one of those individuals doing these acts, then you should be arrested too. Amen. And maybe not just the mayor's son, but the mayor should be arrested if that was your kid out there. And I think lastly, 30 years from now, yes, we are going to have a very different conversation about what happened to the city of Chicago. It's going to be how we all laid down, turned the other eye, and allowed the complete decimation of family values and parental responsibility destroy the most American of American cities.
Well, you need 34 votes to override the veto. Is that possible? I mean, are there certain aldermen that you can still get to?
I believe that with proper pressure from residents and community and effort, we can possibly get close to overturning this. I'm not going to guarantee it, but I think it's going to require some effort. And I know many of my colleagues have already been talking about that, but we also know the public reaction to what the mayor vetoed. And God forbid something happens from now until July 16th, which I believe is the next city council meeting. Mm-hmm. Whoever said no or whoever supported the mayor's veto may very well have blood on their hands by the time we get to that point. And I would not want to be the one to say no twice when we know what we're trying to do and then we see what happens in the aftermath of people learning that we're not going to come in there force them.
Yeah, when Brandon Johnson mentioned, that could be my son, it reminded me of when President Obama said Trayvon Martin, that could be my son too. So, okay. Oh, Jim, did you have a question? Oh, I actually, I've got a question from one of our listeners. Oh, sure. Can you explain how the rolling curfew would work?
Sure. Very quickly. If we in the city of Chicago were to become aware of some potential teen takeover, because as you know, many of these events are orchestrated through social media, posted to TikTok or Instagram or things of that nature, our police superintendent, in coordination with the mayor's deputy mayor of public safety, would have to agree that we need to execute a SNAP curfew, which basically moves the curfew time up from whatever the normal law is, 10:30 or 11 or what have you, to whatever they want it to be. They have to give 30-minute notice. They have to do it publicly and put it on the news and through text or what have you. And then individuals in a particular area impacted by the curfew would be told they have to go home if they're under 18. And if they refuse, then they would be subject to arrest if they choose not to comply.
Alderman Lopez?
Not an immediate arrest.
Sorry.
If you're told it's not an immediate arrest. You're told to leave. You're given half an hour to get the heck out of there. And if you choose not to comply, then other things happen to you.
Can I ask a question? I see you on TV and you look young, but how old are you? Do you mind saying that or no? Because there's a point to this.
Hello.
No, you know what? Don't answer the question. I'll just say you look like you're about 45 years old, but how smart you are. But anyway, so back in the 70s,
I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm 47 years old.
I see. I pretty much nailed it. Yeah,
you did nail it.
Okay, good. I'm giving myself. I should be at the carnival. But anyway, in the 70s, when I was 13, 14 years old, I can guarantee you, if 20 of us were on a road somewhere in the northwest suburbs, the cops would have been there in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
And figuring out what was going on and then dispersing us. Because we were up to no good. There was no question that we were up to no good.
Were you on Cuba Road?
We were. We would go on
used to
down.
do that, too.
Go drag race on Cuba Road.
Oh, yeah.
We do that.
Had a
But
bad
anyway,
car
so
accident
we
there.
were literally up to no good. So people like just with any sort of sense of logic know that whenever there's a big group of teenagers, they can be led down a bad path quickly. Yep. How do we make people understand that this is not a radical position to want to disperse the crowd?
Well, we have to stop falling for the old rope-a-dope arguments that we see out there when we talk about this, right? We know that oftentimes the critics will say, oh, you're demonizing the youth. You're trying to arrest our young people who have nowhere to go, nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. There's plenty to do in the city of Chicago. There's plenty to do in the suburbs, to be quite frankly. Yeah. What we know is that there's a small group of kids who, no matter what you offer, no matter how many summer job applications you hand them, how many museum passes, zoo passes, whatever movie passes, they don't want that. They are pursuing life on social media because that's where they find their fulfillment in getting likes, clicks, and whatever you. We need to recognize that and stop falling for this false argument that if we only invested more in our youth, then things would go away. Because, to be honest, the real thing that we need to invest in, and something that I've routinely spoken about, is if you want better kids, you need better parents.
Right.
Amen.
But there's no way to hold the parents accountable. I mean, is there?
Well, there are ways, and I've introduced ways, and even in the law right now, if your kid acts up, a parent can be held responsible. And the problem that we have is that society now and political leadership now absolutely refuses to have the conversation, where are our parental values? My parents were divorced. I went from one parent to another. My grandparents raised me. This is how I turned out, because somewhere along the line, people cared about what my actions were. People cared about my education, and they cared about what I was doing so that I didn't hurt myself in the future. Where are those people today? You could be a single mom, and you could still be a good parent. You could be a single dad and be a good parent. You could be unemployed and be a good parent. But when you let parents off the hook and say it's no longer your responsibility because, X, Y, and Z, no. You now are creating a generation of ill-mannered children with zero values and, more specifically, zero empathy towards each other, which is how you can have 12 and 13-year-olds killing each other in basketball courts and not think twice about it.
All right, Alderman Lopez, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We love having you, and we also love watching you on Fox News when you make your appearances.
Well, I was just going to end with this. Archer Avenue and Garfield Ridge has a beautiful police memorial commemorating the lives of some of the most recent officers killed in the line of duty: Ella French, Ariana Preston, Enrique Martinez, Luis Huesca, and Andre Vasquez Lasso. It's near Archer and Narragansett. Please check it out. It's wonderful. And pray for all of our law enforcement this weekend.
Yep. And also, too, I should mention that you are in a fundraiser. You're going to be at a softball game Sunday, June 20th. Aldermen are playing the CPD Knights.
Yes, we're going to have aldermen versus police. I try to make it socialist versus police, but we didn't win.
Oh boy, what position are you playing?
I encourage everyone to come out. You know what? I haven't been told yet. I think.
Well, are you a baller? I mean, are you good?
Well, I'm a runner, so I know once I hit the ball, I'll be able to get
Wait,
to the
is it
base,
16-inch, no mitts, like the Chicago way, or no?
You know what? I would hope so, because it'd be an embarrassment if we didn't play Chicago softball.
Yeah, that was Chicago softball, right? Yeah.
It'd be like having a pizza, New York style pizza in Chicago. Who wants that
Exactly.
crap?
It's like it should be criminal. Yeah,
It is
we should pass a
16
law
inch.
against
I'm
that.
reading into it. For tickets, go to Chicago Police Knights Baseball.tickets. And it's going to be at Kerrywood Field on Sunday, June 20th. And it looks like you're going to have a great turnout. A lot of the aldermen are going to be there. So good luck.
Yeah, Alderman Tabaris is putting that together. So I'm just following her lead.
Okay.
I just hope she doesn't put me as a catcher, because I'll be coming.
All right. Thanks so much. Alderman Lopez, 15th Ward Alderman, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses.